You felt it today. Maybe you're feeling it right now, underneath everything else. That flat, restless, slightly itchy sensation of having nothing pulling at your attention. You probably think of it as a problem to solve. Grab your phone, find a video, kill the feeling as fast as possible. But what if that feeling wasn't a malfunction at all? What if boredom is one of the most important emotions your brain ever developed, and you've spent your whole life running from the one signal designed to help you the most? Start with a basic question almost nobody asks. Why does boredom feel bad at all? Hunger feels bad because your body needs food. Pain feels bad because something is damaged. Every unpleasant sensation your body produces exists to push you toward an action that keeps you alive. So what is boredom pushing you toward? The psychologist John Eastwood has spent years trying to answer exactly that question, and his definition reframes the entire emotion. Eastwood describes boredom as the uncomfortable feeling of wanting to be engaged in something and not being able to find anything that satisfies that want. Notice what that definition does not say. It does not say boredom is the absence of stimulation. You can be boiling over with stimulation, scrolling through an endless feed of videos, sounds, and images, and still feel deeply, agonizingly bored. Eastwood's research suggests real engagement is the missing ingredient, not activity. Your brain isn't asking for noise, it's asking for meaning. That distinction changes everything. Think about the last time you scrolled through your phone for 45 minutes and finished feeling emptier than when you started. That wasn't stimulation deprivation. That was engagement deprivation, dressed up as entertainment. Your brain consumed an enormous amount of information and connected with almost none of it. So if boredom isn't about needing more input, what is it actually for? This is where the psychologist Sandy Mann's research becomes genuinely surprising. Mann ran a series of experiments where she deliberately bored people. She had participants complete a mind-numbingly dull task, copying numbers out of a phone book, before asking them to come up with creative uses for a common object, like a pair of cups. The bored group consistently generated more original, more inventive ideas than a control group that skipped the boring task entirely. Being bored first didn't hurt their creativity, it fueled it. Why would emptiness produce more ideas than stimulation? Because your brain doesn't stop working when the outside world goes quiet. It changes what it's working on. The neuroscientist James Dankert has used brain imaging to study exactly what happens during boredom, and one of his key findings involves something called the default mode network, a set of brain regions that activate specifically when you are not focused on an external task. This network lights up during daydreaming, during idle wandering thoughts, during the exact moments you're desperately trying to escape by refreshing an app. And the default mode network isn't wasting time. It's doing something your focused, task-oriented brain physically cannot do at the same moment. It's making unexpected connections, linking a stray memory to a current problem, running loose associations that never get the chance to form when your attention is locked onto a screen. In other words, some of your best ideas are not hiding behind more information. They're hiding behind the silence you keep interrupting. Here's where it gets uncomfortable. Modern life has built an entire economy around making sure that silence never lasts. Every app on your phone is engineered by teams of extremely talented people whose job essentially is to intercept your boredom the instant it appears and replace it with something frictionless. A notification, an autoplay video, an infinite scroll with no natural stopping point. The moment your brain reaches for that quiet, associative wandering state Dankert studied, something buzzes, and you're pulled straight back into consumption. Think about what that means for how often your brain actually gets to enter that state anymore. Your ancestors did not have this problem. Waiting for prey, walking long distances, sitting through long stretches of unstructured time with nothing demanding their attention. Boredom, for most of human history, was not an emergency to escape. It was simply Tuesday, and your brain evolved inside all of that unstructured time, using it apparently to solve problems, plan ahead, and generate the kind of creative leaps Sandy Mann later measured in a lab. You, on the other hand, might go days, weeks, without ever letting that space open all the way. The instant boredom starts to rise, you reach for your pocket before you've even consciously registered the feeling. The signal fires. The response is almost immediate, and the very thing your brain was trying to give you access to gets shut down before it can finish forming. So, what happens when boredom never gets to complete its job? Some researchers studying attention and mental health have pointed to a troubling pattern. Chronic boredom, when it isn't allowed to resolve into reflection or idea generation, sometimes correlates with higher rates of restlessness, difficulty concentrating, and a diminished sense of meaning. Not because boredom itself is harmful, because an unresolved signal, one that keeps getting muted instead of answered, tends to compound. The feeling wasn't dangerous. The constant interruption of it might be. That reframes the entire relationship you have with this emotion. Boredom is not a design flaw. It is not evidence that something is wrong with you, or that you have a short attention span, or that you need better willpower. It's an ancient signal, doing exactly what it was built to do, trying to open a door your modern environment keeps slamming shut. Every uncomfortable, itchy, restless minute of it exists to nudge you towards something quieter and slower than your phone can offer. Space to think, space to wander, space for the parts of your brain that only show up when nothing else is demanding the room. So the next time that flat, restless feeling rises, before you reach for the reflex, try sitting inside it for just a few minutes longer than feels comfortable. Let your mind wander without a destination. Not because boredom is pleasant, it rarely is, but because on the other side of that discomfort is exactly the kind of thinking your brain was built to produce when nothing else was in the way. You felt it today. Maybe you're feeling it right now, underneath everything else. But that flat, restless, slightly itchy sensation was never your enemy. It was your brain, quietly asking for the one thing your world keeps taking away from it: room to think.